I'm going to get that full screen here for you. Spot showers, most of them just off the shoreline. We've seen a few blips in the last 30 minutes passing by from time to time, a little bit closer to the radar site. That would be up into northern Hillsborough County, north of downtown Tampa. And the heaviest shower that we currently have is several miles west of Largo in St. Pete. That one kind of drifting almost aimlessly, because if it takes the track that it's currently on, it would be about 45 minutes from even being close to coastal Hernando or coastal Pasco County. Now back onto the screen I go, because I want to give you a forecast for this weekend. I know a lot of you have plans this weekend, and whether it's outside or you just want to know if when you're driving somewhere and you're getting out of your car, if you're going to need an umbrella like the downpours that we had to kick off this work week. Well, here's how that weekend forecast is looking for you. Hot and humid, high temperatures as warm as about 91 to 92 degrees. In fact, this is Friday, Saturday. I can tell you Sunday's looking very similar. Rain chances not much higher than about 20% moving forward, and tons of heat. An isolated storm will be possible here and there, the same for Sunday, and it's going to be very similar to what we saw today, where the coverage is not going to be very high, and our 4-box live camera network picking up on just some towering clouds in the distance there on our Steinbrenner field camera. Otherwise, puffy, fair weather cumulus clouds in other spots like Raymond James, downtown Tampa, and even the Tampa skyline cam, picking out some of that haze. We still have a little bit of a mixture of Saharan dust and high humidity, which is creating that tinge or hazy appeal in the atmosphere. Temperatures, on the other hand, very hot, very steamy. Heat index values are in the triple digits in many locations. We'll look at those in just a moment, but dew points haven't really yielded out of those mid-70s. And a live view here from Serrata Beach. It looks a lot better than it did yesterday, but you can still tell that kind of gray, yellowish tinge in the sky is not clearing up just yet. Lots of folks are out there in the water. Gulf water temperatures are in the mid-80s, and if anything, still cooler than our high temperatures that are in the mid to low 90s as we speak. And not a drop of rain there in Serrata Beach, though, today. They've remained dry. And our visible satellite imagery here, just showing some of those clouds up in the Nature Coast earlier today that brought those heavy downpours. A few spots picking up near or just over an inch of rainfall. That was in eastern Hernando and eastern Pasco counties. Tampa, St. Pete, we've been mostly dry today, apart from an isolated shower close to Oldsmar. There were a few other blips on the radar that were around for just very short periods of time, but visible satellite imagery not showing us anything impressive at this stage. We will have better rain chances as we continue on into the evening time. And what I'm going to do is jump into our touchscreen to kind of summarize where most of that rain has fallen so far. I'm going to pull up the last 6 hours of rainfall here. And you'll note a lot of this is centered over spots like northern and northwestern Hillsborough County, up into Dade City, Brooksville and the Nature Coast, eastern sections of Citrus and Hernando County, and then a lot of it on over into Sumter County. These have not been very impressive totals. I'm going to flip on my sampling tool and see if we can get some radar estimated amounts here. Out towards spots like East Lake, about 1/10 of an inch. Up into Dade City, Brooksville area, we're looking at 1/4 of an inch at best. The spots that saw the heaviest amounts, we're getting close to an inch in some locations, about 1/2 an inch in eastern Hernando County. And then just off the shoreline here, the heavy downpour we were looking at a moment ago are producing about 1/2 an inch of rainfall in the last 30 minutes to an hour or so, well off the shoreline. Unlikely to bring any rain chances to our coast in the immediate future. That one right now parked well west of St. Pete. We even had a brief passing shower earlier this morning closer to St. Pete, but it was also relatively weak. Severe weather chances are going to be slim to none today. SkyTower radar, while it's dry at the moment, we will have thunderstorm chances inland and east of I-75 moving into the later hours of today. And as we look at the latest U.S. drought monitor, there were some big changes yesterday with the new update that we received. The severe category is draped across most of central Florida, but the big change up is we no longer have that level 4 out of 5 severe drought. That is close to as high as you can possibly get. And with the last update, that also included a large chunk of Sarasota and Manatee counties specifically. Here's a nice before and after to paint that perspective for you. That red draped all across southwest Florida has been peeled back just a bit. They saw quite a bit of rainfall over the past week and a half and were able to kind of chip into those rain deficit totals. The same goes for our coastline, although we could use some more rain to help mitigate some of this. But as we get into the end of June, where we basically tripled the amount of rain that we see in the month of May, I wouldn't be shocked if we are basically drought-free or make up that deficit awfully fast. 4Box Live Camera Network here. These are our inland cameras, so Sebring, Nocatee, Lake Placid, and Arcadia. More of the same, some breaks from the sunshine from time to time as the cloud cover blocks things out. A live view here from Sunny Isles Beach in Miami. While the sky had a tinge of Saharan dust in those last 4 cameras, you can see it a little bit better here, especially off in the distance. This one looked even more impressive about an hour ago, but you get the picture. Even though we have beautiful blue skies, that blue is not looking as blue as normal. And here's the Saharan dust map to explain why. Miami seeing the last bit of that thick plume that was over us in Orlando yesterday. You may have seen some of those viral photos on social media. Spots like Orlando that had a lot of haze in the atmosphere. And while sure it's humid and maybe some of the wildfire smoke up north is making its way down here, the big catalyst for that has been the Saharan dust. It's also done a little bit of a number on our air quality. Most of you will not even notice this change, but several of our sensor sites up and down the coastline are now just reporting moderate air quality. That's when highly sensitive groups may notice it. That's also when maybe your allergies can become slightly more inflamed than normal in these conditions. So with that Saharan dust sticking around for today into tomorrow, it's not going to be until Sunday into Monday that that plume mixes out and we see some bigger relief for us in the near forecast and future. Whenever I talk about Saharan dust on social media, I always get the comment, but at least it does good for us in hurricane season. And that is absolutely true. Saharan dust helps mitigate tropical threats. If anything, it dries out the atmosphere. It makes it very difficult for those tropical storms and hurricanes to find their footing and legs out there in the main development region, like I've highlighted there on the screen, and even into the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, where those powerful trade winds rolling off of Africa can carry that dust 5 to 20,000 feet in the air across the Atlantic and all the way into our neck of the United States. We're talking the southeast and Gulf Coast. So a long voyage from some of that dust, but it does help to mitigate tropical activity. So we will take it any day of the week. There's that graphic showing the long path that this has to take just to get to us. It's where all that dust originated from. It was kicked up and then brought across in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, and some of it, of course, mixes down to the surface. And interestingly enough, if you get a strong enough plume, sometimes it can leave a coating of dust on your car into the next morning, similar to how we would see dew. Doesn't happen often. It takes a substantial plume, and while we do have a decent plume overhead, I've certainly seen more powerful ones through Florida, and this is a regular occurrence regardless. It's not out of the cards that we see something like this happen from time to time, so normal for this time of the year. In fact, seasonal, I should say. And right now, the heat, another seasonal thing that we've grown accustomed to as we enter through these scorching June days. 91 in Brooksville, 89 in Tampa at the moment, 90 in Brandon, 93 in Bradenton, the hot spot, along with Sebring at 93 as well. They've been mostly dry today. In fact, areas south, a little bit warmer. There's been slightly less cloud cover for them as well. Arcadia at 91, Wauchula at 92. And what I'm going to do now is flip over to our dew points across the region. And this is why that heat is feeling extra uncomfortable. Dew points are in the mid to upper 70s in several different locations. I see Palmdale, Tampa, Sarasota, for instance, there on the screen. That's when things start to get really muggy. I show you the dew point scale day after day to just paint the picture here. We're not even talking about relative humidity, which can be a little bit misleading. I like sticking with dew point because it tells it as it is. We know when dew points are in those mid 70s, it feels oppressive as you step outside, and it can propel those current temperatures that are already in the 90s all the way up into the triple digits. Newport Richey, Tampa, Bradenton, Northport, all suffering from that heat. It's conditions like this. You've got to stay hydrated. You've got to find creative ways to stay cool. You got outdoor activities to do. My mind goes out to the yard workers or roofers that have to get out in this heat. Just make sure you're planning accordingly, because we have quite a stretch of above average temperatures, and it's going to feel like some of the warmest temperatures of the year when you account for the heat index values. Futurecast does show those isolated showers I'm talking about starting to go up a little bit farther inland. Severe weather not out of the question, but as I mentioned, the chances are a little bit lower than what we've seen the past few days. Sebring all the way up into Brooksville. We've got a line of showers and storms that we will be watching, mainly away from the coastline. Some of the cooler air put down by that in combination with the sea breeze boundary could bring some of those spot showers back to the coastline. That would be heading into tonight, right as the sun is setting. Coverage is not going to be very high, and if anything, you've got plans this evening along the coastline, you are probably and most likely good. There may be a spot shower, but typically those don't last long and definitely won't impede your plans in the grand scheme of things. I just zoomed through the weekend there for you. In fact, I'm going to go back this weekend and look at a few different spots. This is Saturday morning. Partly cloudy to mostly cloudy, depending on where you live, building up into a few more stray rain chances by 3 o'clock. Moving this forward into 6 p.m., all of this mainly inland and away from the coast. Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, good chance that we stay dry through the weekend. Those rain chances at 20 to maybe 10% depending on where you live. If you're west of I-75, highest rain chances will again be geared inland. We're going to flip back now to rain chances for the next 5 days. Now, barring this is for downtown Tampa. This is not everybody. I show these chances all the time, and I want to reiterate that this is not for our friends in Lakeland or anyone out towards Arcadia or Sebring, Avon Park, for instance. This is Tampa and the St. Pete area. 10% chances for rain moving into Saturday and Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we gradually increase those odds and more isolated showers and storms closer to the shoreline, or what I'm anticipating. So better rain chances to come. Rainfall accumulation until we get there, not very high. This is moving into Monday evening. Tuesday, Wednesday, that coverage starts to climb, and more of that Saharan dust, as I mentioned, starts to work out of here, finally. The June climate calls for average high temperatures as warm as about 91 degrees, average low at 75. We're actually going to be above those average low temperatures here in Tampa. Average highs will be right around that mark. 91 is a pretty good guess for the next few days. Normal rainfall, 7.37 inches for the entire month. This is the third wettest month on record. You see the warmest days and coldest mornings. It can absolutely get hot. We got to 99 degrees as a true temperature, not a feels like temperature. That was back in 2020. Going to pull up the 7-day forecast here on your screen. Highs as warm as 93 degrees. That will be Sunday afternoon with those low rain chances along the coast. The humidity is going to be big time and low temperatures almost in the 80s in some spots. This is one of the hottest times of the year and it's certainly going to feel like it. Above average heat carries us every single day of that 7-day forecast. Now, when we get back, we're going to take a quick check-in with the tropics, what's happening out in the middle of the Atlantic and closer to our coastline. We'll also check back into a few of our local cameras and see how the Saharan dust situation is going and even what's happening on SkyTower's live radar imagery. All that and more coming up. Welcome back. We're looking live here from the tropics. This is satellite imagery spanning from the Gulf through the Caribbean. Out in the middle of the Atlantic, not a lot happening. You see that cluster of thunderstorms associated with the low pressure system that was actually tagged by the Hurricane Center just a few days ago. That was off the coast of Florida, up closer to the Carolinas, and has now drifted off to the north and east. We were tracking that with just low chances that we get a named storm out of that system, but it does not appear to be taking any tropical characteristics. 2 days ago, the National Hurricane Center dropped it off the map, and now no tropical formation is expected anywhere in the Atlantic, and yes, that does include the Caribbean and Gulf for the next 7 days. So fantastic news there. Here's a look at the Fox Weather Model's simulation here. Look at the Gulf and Caribbean. Nothing to worry about there. No big storms spinning up, no large areas of low pressure or concern. We will be watching specifically the Gulf Coast and the western and northwestern Caribbean as we get into the middle of June, because even seasonally, that's a spot that you look. But for now, long-range forecast models not doing anything out of the ordinary, and any runs that you do see on social media or anything out there, not concrete. We don't have agreement at this stage in time, so a lot of people will post things to try and scare you. It is too early to start to point out random developments 10 plus days down the line. For now, just make sure you trust the source that you're getting that info from and have a trusted eye that's been through a few seasons of forecast models and the way that they behave to give you the latest information as they see fit. Tropical activity this time of the year typically suppressed. June and July making up a little over 10% of the entire season. June specifically at about 6% of the entire hurricane season annually when it comes to named storms. Early season storms tend to be on the weaker side of things, and then we get into August, September, October. Chances start to ramp up quite a bit, with the peak of the season coming September 10th and then ramping back down as we move into November. This is a cool graphic. I want to show you something new here. This is tropical frequency by month. This is June. More activity tends to happen a little bit closer to home, but as I mentioned, things are typically weaker. We go from June into July, and look at the changes on this heat map. The number of named storms per 100 years climbs drastically just off the east coast of the United States, and that's that same problem area that we were highlighting 2 days ago that didn't wind up giving us a named storm, but that is going to be one of the spots to watch moving into July. August, chances in that region continue to go up. Also, the Gulf becomes more alive, I should say. And just off the Lesser and Greater Antilles, look out there, that red shaded region, we start to see the main development region out there in the middle of the Atlantic start to become more alive moving into August and September. And that's when you get those deep-rooted storms that develop from tropical waves just as they emerge off the coast of Africa. Higher frequency as we move into September. October, we scale back just a little bit, but notice that area of focus does start to include spots like Florida more. And uncoincidentally, climatologically speaking, tracks like what we saw with Milton seem to line up exactly with the climatology that we saw or typically see in October over the past 100 years. Moving into November, chances scale down quite a bit. Things start to move farther away from Florida. The Gulf starts to shut down entirely, and then eventually activity dwindles to none by the end of November, and it's not very common that we get an out-of-season storm. It happens from time to time, but historically, those are very weak, short-lived, and don't happen very often. Here's the 2025 Atlantic Hurricane Season naming list. Andrea, the first name up, Barry, Chantal, several others down the line like Tanya, Van, and Wendy we have not seen. Interesting names here. Dexter filling in for Dorian, which was retired back in 2019. And I got a question the other day, which was what happens if we were to go through all of the names on this list? It's happened a few times before, and historically we've used the Greek alphabet. The problem with that being that when the Greek alphabet, we start retiring hurricane names off of that list, which has happened, suddenly that list gets much smaller and it's more difficult to, we basically run out of supplemental names once we start retiring too many Greek alphabet names. So what do we do next? A few years ago, I should say, they switched to a different idea, a supplemental storm naming list. What that means is this list will then be used if we ever run out of the previous list. Adria, that first name up, followed by Braylon and Caridad. You can retire names off of this list, and then they will actually be replaced. It's a much better solution now that we have very active seasons from time to time that do call for these extra names to be used. Hopefully we hardly put a dent in our original list, though, this year. We are expecting a near or above average season as a whole. I don't put a lot of stock in these forecasts like you're seeing here from NOAA, because even if this does happen, you have to put the same emphasis entering into a season on your preparation if it's expected to be an active one or a less active one, because we've had some of the most active seasons with storms very far away from our coastline, and some of the most inactive seasons that brought major hurricanes into Florida. My mind goes to Andrew back in the early 90s, for instance. So definitely take those plans or hurricane plans seriously, regardless of the forecast. And if anything, this is just to show you from NOAA that we do have above average sea surface temperatures, not quite as high as where we were this time last year. And additionally, we do have an active African monsoonal season expected, and that could spit up a few more tropical waves than normal and lead to more developments out there in the main development region. SkyTower radar is dry as it stands. A stray shower is just off the shoreline. We'll take one last look at the radar when we come back from a quick break. We'll also play Guess the Sky Cam and see if you can pick out where this is. Your hint is it's somewhere close by. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, I asked if you could guess this sky camera. Your hint was that this was pretty close to home. If you live around here, you might be able to pick out some spots. I just asked Paul if he knew where this was, and he picked out the airport, no problem, but where this was located, he couldn't guess. The correct answer is Raymond James Stadium. This is right on top of the scoreboard, looking out towards the airport. A gorgeous shot here, but I want to direct your attention to the heat index being reported by the sensor site at the airport. Heat index is now 100 degrees. Dew points are in the mid-70s. We just saw 75 for a dew in downtown Tampa, so the heat, no joke today. And if anything, it's going to get even hotter for the next few days, and rain coverage is not going to be very high either. Saharan dust is still draped over us, but not quite as much as yesterday. Our camera's not looking as hazy. Winds are at 5 to 10, maybe 15 miles per hour in some different locations. The wind tracker giving us a little bit of a break for the next few days. Nothing crazy. I think we keep it between 5 to 15 miles per hour, and that's going to give us a more ideal boating forecast in the days ahead. 2 days ago, we had very choppy conditions on the waters, and that quickly has changed. Look at what we have to gear towards into Saturday and Sunday. Light chop, 1 foot or less in the open waters of the Gulf, and just in general, Gulf water temperatures that are a little bit warmer than average, so ideal swimming weather as well. Pulling up, SkyTower radar here, full screen. Pop-up showers are still developing along the coast, but I do think more of the focus is going to be in this spot right over here. I'm going to circle it in blue to give you an idea. This is going to be the area that we're watching for most of the developments for the next few hours. It's away from the coast, so chances for rain in spots like St. Pete and Tampa, they're not going to be quite as high as we head into the evening time, but either way, 10-20% odds are going to be the best case along the coast. Lakeland, Bartow, Fort Meade, up into Dade City, spots that maybe even already seen some showers today. There could be more rounds on the way, as a lot of that activity, as you see here with the latest run from the Fox model, are going to be inland and along the eastern sections of the county line there in Hillsborough County before all this quickly expands to our inland counties and communities. It's going to be from Highlands County up into Sumter County for the highest chances for just a heavy shower, perhaps a thunderstorm capable of gusty winds, cloud-to-ground lightning, but severe weather chances for today are not particularly high. And then we keep things mostly dry heading into the weekend with most of the rain chances again focused inland. I'm going to leave you with the 7-day forecast. I think you're going to like this if you don't want anything to mess up your outdoor plans. You're not going to like it, though, if you're not a big fan of the heat. We get as warm as 93 degrees. That's going to be Sunday afternoon. The average high for this time of year, closer to 90. We are going to be flying above that mark for the next 7 days. Rain chances eventually return back to the coastline as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be bumping up that cloud coverage as well. So if you're going to go the next few days trying to play it lucky and not have that umbrella by your side, you'll definitely need to know where it is come Tuesday or Wednesday by next week just to keep yourself safe. Well, that'll just about do it for SkyTower Weather Now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you again on Monday, where Valerie will take the reins and get you up to speed with what's happening then in the tropics, and also probably rain chances in the vicinity, as we at least have a 20% then for Tampa.